Now, if I can very briefly take you back again, not quite 25 years, but just 5 months to election night 2022, when the Prime Minister-elect addressed the nation for the first time. I think Anthony changed the tone that night. And when he changed the tone of our national politics, that helped us change the substance as well, of how a government ought to behave, of how a cabinet ought to operate, how we discuss issues, how we deliberate, and how we come to decisions. I think we kept faith with that last night on budget night. Now, one of the nice things I hear a fair bit about Anthony's government is that people feel like the adults are back in charge, and it's nice to hear. It's how we intend to continue. I think it says something about how seriously we take our responsibilities. But I also think it says something about how people seeing us talk about the economy, the budget and its challenges in a fairly open and honest way. Now, last night I spoke briefly of the Australian character that does reveal itself in times of crisis, like natural disasters that we're seeing now. We see it in the worst of times. We see it in the best of the humanity that finds a way in Australia to break through, whether it's filling up sandbags, rebuilding roads or serving meals or going house to house to check in on neighbours and strangers alike. That's who we are. It's part of our character. And part of that character is us levelling with each other about whatever adversity we face so that we can face it together and work it out and get on with it, whether in politics or in life more generally. I think people appreciate being brought in, not talked down to or talked past. And that's been a practice more breached than honoured in our recent politics. From my perspective, it's probably one of the things that has most unmoored public life from public esteem. Now, since taking on this job, I've tried to have a serious go at being as upfront as I can be about what's happening in the economy and what it means for the budget. And sometimes I don't get it bang on. It can be inelegant, it can be ineloquent, but I always try and preference the blunt over the polished. And I want to take people into our confidence about what we're seeing, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. As I said last night, and as I've said before, this is just the beginning of the conversation I want us to have about the longer-term position of the budget, about the things we've got going for us and the things that we need to confront, about our priorities as a country and the choices we need to make to honour and pay for them. Now, this springs from an optimistic, realistic mindset, not a pessimistic one, because for all that's confronting and challenging about this period, we aren't daunted and we aren't distracted. We are driven by our determination to transform this moment of adversity into an age of long-term prosperity for our people. We are energised by this opportunity. We are determined to do something with it in the time that we've got, to steer our country through these choppy waters and towards a better future, a future worthy of the Australian people that we are so privileged to serve. Thanks very much.